Alright, welcome back to Comic Book Wednesdays, a weekly series where we discuss comic books. We're your hosts. I'm Ian.
I'm Shane.
I'm Al.
And we're back with another episode where this time we're reading Daredevil, The Man Without Fear by Frank Miller. So this will be a short one for us just because we'll do 2 weeks of it. Only 5 issues. So this week we did issues 1, 2, and 3. And I just gotta ask guys, how do you guys feel about this?
I actually really enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, I'm liking it as well, to be honest. Like, I see a lot where like some of the Netflix TV shows, like you were saying a while ago, took their inspiration. It's really cool to just like see the origin of that, and I was really enjoying what we were reading.
I felt like they actually stuck pretty close to it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gets even more so as you continue. So I 100% agree with you guys. Did you guys notice Frank's like kind of writing style where like he kind of ignores proper grammar? I don't know if
Yes. Yeah, it was really kind of throwing me off really hard.
yeah, I'm reading it and I'm like, what the fuck is he saying here?
Yeah, it was very weird.
You know what was really interesting? I aside from the proper grammar, but the art and like the grammar really reminded me a little bit like Watchmen.
Yeah,
Oh,
I had that same feeling.
it's that whole like late 80s, early 90s vibe that this book has.
Okay.
Like that's what I'm thinking at least. Um, and the artist is should be John Romita Jr. Probably one of the most famous comic book artists out there. So
Nice.
he did a lot of work in this time period. I do have to say I don't necessarily love the way he does certain faces. They can get kind of blocky, but
Yeah, definitely.
like especially Elektra, like I feel like she's just like really off-putting and hard to look at, in my opinion.
I can see
No,
that.
that's totally fair. She's not at all what I imagined. And
How
like I
so?
don't mean that in a bad way. It's just she really Okay, so I did not know anything about the origins of Elektra. I knew that like Stick for like it kind of gave some hints here and there. Like I was under the impression that he had like trained her. And so when I saw that she was um like doing these certain things, it was really just interesting to me because like I didn't expect her to like come from a family like that, and like the end with Kingpin, like a lot of that was just surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. Um, yeah, Elektra is an interesting character. Um, she definitely has more things going than like what she wants Matt to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same sense, like I don't think she's trying to lie to him either. Like she actively avoids him. She like
Yeah, and there's like the whole scene with like her throwing herself off the cliff and then Matt jumping in after her, and it wasn't her jumping in, it was just her faking it. Was
yeah,
like, yeah, you are a scumbag piece of shit, aren't you?
she's a little yeah, she's a little off. You know, it's like, what are you trying to do here? You know, what is your
Right.
motive? Because like it isn't just take advantage of Matt. It's more like she's got a screw loose and she's just trying to like mess with him in general. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she obviously has a screw loose. She like seductively attracted a bunch of guys into an alleyway, and then
And then
decides
beat
that
the shit out of them
yeah, killed them, bro. I love New York on the wall, like
in
in
their
their
blood, yeah.
in their blood, and we're like, what the hell?
And like
weird.
I was under a weird impression that like for a second that like her and Stick were working together because like he was like, he failed the, he's follows his emotions too much, like he's not good enough. And then like she goes and messes with him, and like he very clearly has this moment where like he's following like the clothes, and the police officer is just like, what are you doing? And he's just like, I have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
And like he learned his lesson and he stopped. And at that point I was like, oh, that would have been a good test. But then she like ramps up the crazy to like level 11, and then even Stick is like, you just need to just stay away from her, she's the one that's just wild.
Right. Just like he threatens to kill him if he doesn't stay away from her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather see you dead than hanging out with her or something like that when in the bedroom scene.
Yeah. He's supposedly he's saying she's working for the other side. We don't exactly know what that means as of yet, but like he's afraid of her turning him. But Stick's kind of weird though too, because like he spent all this time training Matt, and then Matt like had a lapse in judgment, kills somebody, and Stick's
And he's like done with him.
yeah, and you can't say that it's the only person. Stick's probably killed a bunch of people too, So it's like,
oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what the hell, dude?
What kind of like threw me off with that is with it was, if you don't mind me jumping around, it was more towards the end where like
No,
I very familiar like with the Netflix show. And so then like at the end where you have that dude who says that like weird dialogue about like he's like, "Oh yes, you're my hands," and like you see the hands like touching his face, and I was like, "Oh, are we gonna get introduced to the hand?" Nope.
No.
It's Kingpin.
Yeah.
He's like, I do have a headache. Yes, touch my head. You're like,
Snap.
You're dead.
Yeah, you're dead.
Yeah, there
You're
was
dying.
no way he was not dying in the end of that scene.
No, right? And I do love that page with Kingpin on it. Like, just kind of like takes up the whole thing. Let me go back to it. I actually have my book in front of me because I have this in writing. Yeah, he pretty much takes up the whole thing. And then there's a smaller box towards the bottom that has him overlooking New York. And it's just a very powerful image. Kind of reminds me, and it's probably where Into the Spider-Verse has gotten, like, that scene where like Kingpin is just like, he's just this massive wall of a person.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is like they take inspiration from how this page here.
That was fascinating. Like, I'm really into the story. Like, I'm really entranced with it. But like, that was so wild.
Absolutely, yeah. And we haven't even talked at all about his beginnings and his dad hearing like hearing his dad like talk to the gangsters and stuff, and like it's such a sad existence.
Yeah, and his dad was kind of a piece of shit. I mean, he wasn't trying to be, but like, sometimes that happens. You don't get a choice,
I feel like he was just trying to do best with what he was given,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely, I completely agree. And like,
And
they did stick to the origin really well. Like, again, kudos to fucking Netflix for that.
Yeah, they did a really good job of sticking to it. I was impressed when I read these 3 books that they stayed so close to it.
Yeah.
Speak to me not of the darkness.
And that's, I agree with you. I'm sorry, I had something else in my mind, so I blanked. But I absolutely
Apologies.
do agree. I'm looking at the book still, and the scene where his dad dies. The art that they used is like, I don't know if you remember, but his face was like beaten to hell. So like the artist kind of like drew like weird lines and blood and teeth everywhere, and it looks awful. and then he blew his mouth off. So
Yeah, that was a wild scene.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then I was a little confused with Matt's age in this book. Like in
The schematic, read the schematic.
I guess it's trying to show how long he trained with Stick, because he starts this book relatively young. He's a boy. But by the time his dad dies, he's 17, I think.
Right. Yeah, it did skip forward quite a bit between those two books, I think, and it was just like, oh, okay, we're farther down the road now.
Because, like, by the time you're in the second book, he, like, kind of gets his revenge, and and then he's going off to college. It's like a year later. Which is kind of, like, crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting book, and getting a lot of backstory from of Matt Murdock is definitely interesting. One of the things that I would like to, if we keep doing Daredevil stuff, is pursue, the Defenders and that era of him, But I think it's really cool to get this backstory of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope to continue with I feel like most of the Daredevil stuff we'll read is gonna probably be focused on him and Kingpin. Like I think that's something Frank Miller liked to do. So the next time I pick the Daredevil, probably doing that. Because I had this whole plan, but our schedule is just not gonna allow us to do that at this point.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I know we have kind of like a weird schedule going on, which I know that next week we won't be having an episode.
No, we won't. But yeah, I don't know. But I'm glad you guys are enjoying it so far.
Yeah, it's definitely good.
Yeah, thank you for the pick. I like diving into this character, and I like kind of seeing this world, because like some superhero origins, when you read them, it's very much like, here's this power, here's all these things, but like he was training before he became blind. Like he was doing things beforehand because he just wanted to. He was, and like there's this one scene that like really kind of like was like, whoa, wow, was when his dad was just like, yeah, don't be like me, be better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And like he told his dad like, yeah, I got bullied, and
I beat the crap out of him.
I beat the crap out of him, and I defended myself, and his dad just popped him, and then he just like, it's like, whoa, Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
Like, just because you stand up for yourself doesn't mean you're gonna be mean. Like, and I think it was really highlighting the struggle of like, because he was like, even with Foggy, like he was looking out for the little guy.
Yeah.
Because you see like Foggy getting beat up and like all of these things happening, and then like the next day, like it's just like, oh yeah, we all knew what he did, but he didn't say anything because he's establishing himself early on as like I'm gonna help the little guy. I'm always gonna and that's a good thing to start very early on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
No, I'm really enjoying it.
Good.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. And it's like I said earlier, it's good to get a new perspective on another character, like we got kind of a new perspective on Gambit last week and the weeks prior. So it's nice to pick up another new character and get another perspective on those characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you'll find as we read it more Frank Miller's Daredevil stuff, it's going to be a lot of stuff that we've seen on TV.
Right.
But there'll be stuff that we haven't because they can't adapt everything. But we'll at least know characters. Like we've already met Foggy. You'll meet Karen eventually. Things like that.
Yeah.
That series really took from like Daredevil from like the 80s and 90s, like a lot of
That's
stuff they
awesome.
did in there. Yeah, and that's when comics were a little edgier, and that's
Yeah.
really what that show like lended itself to. Um, but then, as far as like getting a little different, there was a run like I mentioned that came out in 2019, and I don't remember the author at the moment, but like supposedly it's really good. Um, so it's something I was thinking about maybe eventually getting into as well. It depends on how we feel about Daredevil after all that
Yeah.
time, because there's other
Sure. No,
characters too.
absolutely.
Oh yeah, there's tons of other characters, but I am enjoying, seeing that because I really enjoyed the Daredevil show and all that.
Yeah, me too. I think it's some of my favorite stuff on Netflix. Is that Daredevil? Yeah, and like you said, Al, I think it'd be cool to get into Defenders as well. If there is a Defenders line that um, that Daredevil is part of prominently. Um, not sure if Netflix kind of just borrowed the Defenders title for those heroes.
Right. I mean, I've always been a little bit of a fan of Iron Fist and Heroes for Hire and stuff like that, so it'd be fun to get into that, but, hey, we're getting some good Daredevil stuff first, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Heroes for Hire would be really fun to read. Um,
Yeah.
that'd be something looking into. But yeah, um, I don't really have much more. Anything you want to add, guys, before we round up here?
Just that it's an awesome comic and I'm enjoying it a lot so far.
Yeah, same. This has been fantastic.
Awesome. I'm glad you guys like it. All right, well, that'll be it. Y'all have a good night.
Y'all too?
Take it easy. Thanks for watching.